My favorite time of the year, the top 10 lists. It's the end of 2017. Where did the time go? Oh my god. Today I am presenting you with my top 10 worst movies of 2017 list. Now, there are a few rules to keep in mind. These are not reviews, these are just quick thoughts of these movies. I have seen these movies. There are some movies that were recognizably bad that I either found were guilty pleasures or I just didn't get to see. I didn't have the time to see them, so not every critically panned movie is going to be on this list. And rule is, this is just an opinion of mine. This whole list is just an opinion of mine. You can feel free to agree, you can feel free to disagree. Just keep it, you know, pretty cool in the comments section. As long as you keep it like that, I'm okay with it. But feel free to disagree, feel free to agree, do whatever you want. Unlike last year, there will be no honorable mentions for top 10 worst. There will be honorable mentions for top 10 best. You will find those on the STARDUST app. I will be recording those soon. But other than that, those are my 3 rules. So let's get started with the list. Clocking in at number 10, welcome to the list, Justice League. The more I think about Justice League, the more it pisses me off. He is just living proof that studios interfere with movies, with the unfortunate departure of one director who sent it over to another director who didn't even have his vision made, and the studio just did whatever the hell they wanted. It's studio fuckery. Tones don't mesh well, the humor is really forced, the action is very generic, there's no character development. This movie would have benefited from solo movies first. Too short, and I seriously don't want to get into the CGI removal of Henry Cavill's beard because he just looks like this. Avengers grosses $207 million in 3 days on its opening weekend, and Justice League can barely break 90 in its opening weekend. That's a problem. Very few asked for a sequel to XXX. Nobody asked for a sequel to XXX State of the Union, but we got one, and it's on this list. It's XXX, The Return of Xander Cage. Now don't get me wrong, I'm down for an action movie, but don't give me an action movie that is boring as hell and puts me to sleep. Give me an action movie that is cool, an action movie that actually has a plot. Nobody asked for a sequel to XXX, or very few people did. Nobody definitely asked for a sequel to the sequel. But we got it, and it bored me to death. This movie is not good. I was hoping it would be good in that it's so bad it's good type of way, but it's so bad it's bad. Cringeworthy dialogue, awful performances, especially from Vin Diesel and Nina Dobrev. Terrible editing, and this is basically just the remake of Point Break, but 2.0. Like, that's all this is. It's just a showcase of extreme sports with no plot. Then you tried. You got something good going with Guardians of the Galaxy, and now Fast and Furious, but just let franchises that need to die, die. I want you to do something for me right now. I want you to go into the dictionary and look up the 2 words, wasted potential, because the circle will be right next to it. So much talent in this movie, but talent doesn't lead to greatness. Emma Watson phones it in. John Boyega is like the only standout in this movie. Nothing of interest really happens. There's no real conflict in the movie. The main character of May isn't a great protagonist at all. She's in the same place that she was in at the beginning of the movie, where she is at the end of the movie. It was boring. I sat through this in the theater and I was like, God damn, when's it gonna end? I really didn't find the plot of this movie to be all that believable either. If you watch this movie and you are able to sit through the full hour and 50 minutes of it, your life will definitely be stuck in a circle. We always hear of these actors and actresses that are hard to work with. Katherine Heigl is one of those people. She hasn't made a movie for a while. She returns in a movie that is so unforgettable, it's forgettable. You're probably saying to yourself, how is Unforgettable forgettable if Unforgettable made your top 10 worst movies of the year list? Well, here's the thing. I almost forgot about Unforgettable. I couldn't forget it off this list. I know, super convoluted. There are so many weird shots of Katherine Heigl in this movie and Rosario Dawson. It's just another shitty remake of Fatal Attraction. Can we stop with these things, please? Heigl is not a good actress. She can't carry a movie. Rosario Dawson is fine, but she is also atrocious in this movie. I seriously hope these stop. This movie is so unforgettable that I included it on this list, but it is also so forgettable that it just deserves to rot and die in hell. So yeah, I'm washing it from my memory and letting it burn. This next movie may not make some people's lists because it can be looked at as a guilty pleasure, or it can be looked at as a movie that's so bad it's actually funny, and that's how I look at it, but it's still making the list. Because Wish Upon makes me wish shitty horror movies did not exist. When your horror movie is edited in a way where the deaths look like they should have been in an R-rated horror movie, but instead they're in a PG-13 horror movie, you don't show anything, and they come across as hilarious. This movie is an unintentional comedy. I will not stand for horror movies like that. That is not a good thing when it comes to me. The way it's edited tries to scare you, but the editing comes across as laughter, because nothing in this movie is scaring. Oh yeah, the main chick is also a bitch. She wishes death and destruction upon everybody. I wouldn't want to be her friend, like, would you? You'd probably be dead. I'd probably be dead. That wouldn't be any fun. No. If you like any and every disaster movie known to man, Geostorm is your movie. For me, Geostorm is a sack of shit. Also another one that is so bad it's funny. I wouldn't say it's so bad it's good. I would just say it's so bad it's funny because the execution is so poor. It should be a disaster movie, but the disaster really doesn't happen until the last act of the movie, and there's this whole government political conspiracy thing going on that nobody cares about. Gerard Butler and Jim Sturgis have no chemistry on screen. Jim Sturgis can't act. Lots of cringeworthy dialogue in this movie. The girl that plays Gerard Butler's daughter in this movie tries her best to do a Murph impersonation from Interstellar, and yeah, she failed. Gerard Butler's career is dead. Rest in peace, Gerard Butler's career. In at number 4, you would think this might be a little higher on the list, like 3, 2, or 1. But my first 3, I think, are worse than this, or at least pissed me off more. But that still doesn't save the fact that the Bye Bye Man is making this list, and is one of the worst of the year. Now, I never saw this movie in the theater. I didn't pay to see this. I saw this on iTunes way after it was released. I heard rumblings that the cast and the crew went to press screenings. I'm assuming there were a lot of teenagers there, because they did a talk before each screening, I guess. This is the rumor, that this movie was made for them. Yeah, this movie was made for the teenage demographic. So why am I gonna like this movie? Because it looks like it's a fan-made movie. It's a film student movie. That's what it looks like. I'm not saying like it looks like that as in, oh, you actually didn't see the movie, so you can't include it on this list. No, I saw the movie. That's what the filming of this movie is. It's fan-made. That's how the movie looks. That's what the cinematography looks like. On top of terrible scares, you can't even laugh at this movie. With a movie title called The Bye Bye Man, you should be able to laugh at it. I'm just gonna wave bye-bye to it now. I am so happy my number 3 pick made the list, because when franchises are supposed to die, leave them dead. Oh, I hate Transformers Last Night with a passion. Now look, I can tolerate the first 3 in this franchise, even though I don't like Revenge of the Fallen, and I don't like Dark of the Moon. I forget what the third one's called. They kind of make me not like the first one. However, Age of Extinction just left a sour taste in my mouth. I was like, I am done with the franchise. I am not going back after it. But I sat through the last night and I was like, this movie's going to be at least slightly better than Age of Extinction. Boy, was I wrong. It's a lot worse. Runtime is shorter than Age of Extinction, but it feels a lot longer. You have your stupid Mark Wahlberg-isms. I can't watch Mark Wahlberg going around and be like, hey man, I'm a guy from Boston who's supposed to be from somewhere in the Midwest. I can't do it, man. I just can't do it. Come on, kids. Take an interest in science. The movie is just your typical Michael Bay-isms, awful action scenes, chicks that are 14 years old dressed up like porn stars, racial stereotypes, awful humor. This, The Last Night, is the nail in the coffin for me with the Transformers series. I am not going to watch the Bumblebee movie. I'm sorry. I can't do it. After experiencing this, I cannot do it. I am done with this. You would think after what I just said this would be number one, but there's two movies that I think are worse than The Last Night, even though this movie and at Michael Bay. You would think Transformers The Last Night or this movie would get the number one spot. Not for me. If my number one movie didn't come out this year, these would rack up the numbers 2 and 1 spots, but because there is a worse movie than the Emoji Movie, Emoji Movie gets number 2. And rightfully so. What was the point with the Emoji Movie? Like, kids don't even love this movie. This movie is just an hour-and-a-half music video that takes place in a video game world because it thinks it's Wreck-It Ralph. Ugh. By far, obviously, because it's on this list, one of the worst movies of the year, one of the worst movies I have ever seen. That says a lot. It's one of the worst movies I have ever seen. It is definitely the biggest cash grab I have ever seen. After watching this movie, you're going to feel meh, or sick, or depressed, or drunk, or feel like doing drugs. Probably all 4 of those, instead of meh. Alright guys, this is it. My number 1 least favorite movie of the year. My number 1 on my top 10 worst. I think you know what this is. I think everybody sees it coming, so it really needs no introduction. My least favorite movie of the year, the worst movie of the year, one of the worst movies I have ever seen, 50 Shades Darker. Let this series die after the next one. I hate Transformers The Last Night. I hate the Emoji Movie, but nothing is the epitome of burning in hell and stepping all over it than 50 Shades Darker, or the first movie. But somehow this is worse than the first movie. First of all, the 2 leads, Jamie Dornan, Dakota Johnson, cannot act. Their characters in the movie are dumb characters who are completely incompatible with each other. Anything in this movie is unbelievable to the point. The kinky sex stuff, it's not that kinky. Hard on watching this movie, I don't know how, because I sure as hell don't. And just so you know that this is Twilight fanfiction with the characters changed, and the writer of the book series was so desperate to have this movie made that they fired the writer of the first movie, and they had her husband write this. He's written nothing before. Why would you hire a guy that doesn't know how to write a movie to write a movie? Because the script is a piece of garbage! Thank God they're not splitting this last one into 2 parts, but seriously, I have to sit through another one. Next one is called 50 Shades Freed, apparently, and I so cannot wait to be freed of this dumb-ass bullshit. So guys, that's my list of my top 10 worst movies of 2017. For the ones that I did review, there were a few of them. A couple of them I didn't get around to reviewing because I never saw them in the theater. I rented them on iTunes, and by that point I was like, why bother? I don't think it's really worth it at that time. But I will leave the links for the ones that I did review in the description below, so you can check those out as well. Stay tuned for my top 10 best movies of 2017 list, and also something that I didn't do last year, I really want to do this year, top 10 underrated / overlooked movies of 2017. You will see some honorable mentions in the best list. You can find those on the STARDUST app. I will post those later. Thank you for watching my video of my top 10 worst movies of 2017. You guys are the best. I will see you next time. You can like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. You're on YouTube, subscribe at the end of this channel if you like what you see here.